Hi, it's Pastor Ted again, another week in a year in the Word. And if you're reading along with us and you've kept up, you are in February. That means you've got 1 month down, 11 more to go. You're doing a great job. I know the train can come off the tracks sometimes with New Year's resolutions, especially when it gets into February. But I'm praying for you as you go along. I hope you keep up with us and keep reading the Word. Now, we've reached the point in scriptures where we're beginning to hear a lot of laws, a lot of do this, don't do that, or if this happens, then this other thing should happen. It's actions and consequences. And for a lot of us, it's something that we skip right over. We're not too interested in. In fact, some of us may be even less interested in it than that. We think that it doesn't matter. Now, there are some laws that have become antiquated. There are some laws that don't seem to apply anymore. There are some laws that seem just downright wrong. But how do we as Christians make sense of the intent of the laws in the Old Testament? You know, sometimes we juxtapose law and grace. We think that the law was fine until grace came along, and now it's so much better. But on my reading of the Old Testament, on my reading of the law, that's not the right way to go. You see, when I read the laws, I hear God trying to protect individuals, to keep people healthy and well, living a good and healthy life. I also hear God trying to protect all members of society, even those that are vulnerable, even those that don't have standing. God is trying to make the people of God a just society so that they can be God's image in the world. God is trying to show people how to live life abundantly in this world that God has given, in this good creation. Now, so many times with idols, people had to imagine what the idol would want. Obviously, the idol was made up, so one had to try to figure out what such an idol might want, and they had to guess in how they did things. But it's different with God. God pulled Moses aside and said, "Tell the people of God this. Here's who I am, and here's how I want you to live in the world." So, are there a lot of details? Sure. Thanks be to God. God didn't give hints. God didn't give clues. God said, "Here's what I'd like." In other words, as I read the laws of the Old Testament, I think it is grace. Grace is when God comes to us and gives us the gift of God's presence, the gift of guidance in our life. I think that's what the laws were intended to be. They weren't intended to be some ideal that could never be reached. They weren't intended to frustrate. Instead, they were an act of love given to people who are longing to follow God in this world. So as we read laws that are ancient, some of which we embrace wholeheartedly and others of which we think just don't make sense anymore, let's always begin with this. These are communications from God, who was trying to love God's people in the world and to show them how to love one another. Let's begin with the assumption that these laws are grace. I hope your reading is going well. I hope you're keeping up with us, and I'd love to see you again in church very soon.